Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming to you from right here on my YouTube channel. I am, of course, your host, John Campea, and it is an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, our international friends, gather around as we talk about our favorite things in the world: movies, movie news, TV, streaming, all sorts of good stuff. And ladies and gentlemen, he's our very own the last man. Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett is here. Robert, how you doing today, sir?
John, I'm doing well, and it is the 18th of October, and if memory serves, doesn't somebody see Eternals tonight?
This guy gets to go see Eternals tonight, but don't fret, I'm taking you to go see it tomorrow.
I know, but still, I mean, you're going to see it tonight. I'm very excited for it.
Dude, I am so stoked. Now, listen, I ended up loving Shang-Chi, and I was excited to go see it, but I didn't think Shang-Chi was going to be as good as it was. I can't remember the last time I was this excited to go to a premiere than I am for Eternals. Like, and maybe that's going to bite me in the ass, having my expectations that high. But yeah, so just so you guys know too, Ann and I are going to we're going to do a little vlog of our whole experience about, getting ready to go, getting into Hollywood, what it's like down there when you're at this event and stuff like this. And then, of course, I will be posting my immediate out of the theater reaction. Hopefully my super high expectations aren't going to sour my actual experience with it, but I am very, very excited for it. And guys, we're very excited that you guys are here and decided to make this show a part of your day. It is an incredible honor that you guys decide to do that. And here's how today's show is going to go. We break it into two parts. The first half of the show, we take some predetermined topics. And then the second half of the show, we take your live comments and questions. If you'd like to get a live comment or question put on the show or an upcoming companion video, simply go and click on the tip link that's down in the description below, or enter it in manually at www.streamelements.com/movieblogtv/tip. You'll be getting your comment or question read on a show if it's, of course, appropriate for us to use on the show. And, of course, you'll be supporting the channel at the same time. And all of us involved with the John Campea Show, thank you guys so much for your support. Also, one other bit of housekeeping. Don't forget, if you need your daily fix at the John Campea Show, but you can't be in front of a YouTube channel, maybe you're commuting, you're at work, you're at the gym, good news, there is the John Campea Show podcast. It's the audio-only version of the show. Just go to your favorite podcasting app of choice, search for the John Campea Show podcast, and go and subscribe to it today so the podcast is there when you need it. And a big thank you to all you guys who've already subscribed to the podcast. And by the way, our friend Savage McFilthy sends in a super chat badge in the live chat, as does Danny Sanchez. Thank you, guys. Thanks for supporting the show in that way. All right. With that down, guys, let's get into an off the top here, shall we? And that's a big one. And our off the top is this. Rob, the pandemic and the last year and a half, almost 2 years, has caused nightmares for the movie release schedule for everybody. I mean, everybody from Paramount to Universal to Disney to Warner Brothers to you name it, it's affected them. And it looks like maybe the effects aren't done because Marvel and DC, or Marvel, I should say, and Disney have a big, big slate of films that we're getting ready to have come down the pipe. But breaking news this morning, they've delayed almost all of them.
Yeah.
Almost all of them have gotten delayed. This is, of course, coming to us from Variety. We're going to read a little bit of an excerpt here from it. Marvel fans, prepare to wait a little bit longer to see Doctor Strange, Thor, and Black Panther return to theaters. Disney has delayed the release plans for several upcoming films, including Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness from March 25th to May 6th. That's actually not that big of a bump. It's only probably about 5 weeks. But at any rate, Thor, Love and Thunder from May 6th to July 8th. Again, not that big of a bump. Black Panther, Wakanda Forever from July 8th to November 11th. Getting a little bit longer. With the Black Panther sequel jumping to November, The Marvels has now been postponed to early 2023, so that takes a little bit of a hit. As a part of the rollback, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania was bumped from February 17th, this is a big one, to July 28th. Now, here's another big one. It also affects Indiana Jones, and listen to this. Along with the deluge of Marvel delays, Disney has moved the fifth Indiana Jones installment back nearly a year. The still untitled film starring Harrison Ford as the fedora-wearing swashbuckling archaeologist will open on June 30th, 2023, instead of July 29th, 2022. Rob, I was mentioning to you before the show started, here's an interesting fact. With Indiana Jones 5 now being bumped to 2023, that means it will be 15 years between Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Lost Skull, or the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, to when this new Indiana Jones film comes out. 15 years. Rob, if you didn't know better, you would almost think Disney is waiting for Harrison Ford to die to use that as a big marketing push for the new Indiana Jones. That's a
terrible.
little bit, maybe that's a bit morbid. Maybe that's a little bit morbid for me to say, but I wouldn't put anything by Bob Chapek. I'm just saying, 15 years. 15 years. It was already 14. Well, it was going to be 12. Then it became 13. Then it became 14. Now it's 15. So yet another delay. Okay, so Rob, let's look at this from the Marvel perspective for a second.
Uh-oh.
The Doctor Strange one is actually quite a small bump. I mean, the Doctor Strange delay is actually not a big deal. It's a couple of weeks, no big deal. Even the Thor Love and Thunder. As you move down the aisle, though, you start to see more and more delays. Obviously, Marvel has a reason they release things when they do. And one of the drawbacks from a logistics point of view, if you're Marvel and have this big interconnected universe, is that if one film gets bumped, it's probably going to affect the release of other films as well. So if one thing needs to move, it doesn't necessarily mean everything has to move, but it creates a scenario where you may have to move everything.
Right.
So I don't think this is a situation where they were like, oh my God, we're having problems on this movie, it's got to move, and we're having problems with this movie, that's got to move, and we're having no. I get the feeling that there was one thing. What that one thing is, I don't know, but there was one thing that was going to cause a delay, which ultimately culminated in Marvel having to take the whole release schedule and just pack it all together as one thing and shift it a bit. Nothing as drastic as the Indiana Jones one. So, hey, listen, again, the Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, not that big of a wait. So that's fine. It's not like it was about to come out in 2 months anyway. So we're okay there. Rob, you heard about these delays. What are your thoughts? How big of a deal is this? What do you think about the Indiana Jones? There's a lot to unpack here. What do you make of it?
Well, the first thing I thought that it might have been tied to the strike, the potential IATSE strike, and that now because the work days are shortened, literally if you think about it, over the course of, if you go from a 12-hour workday to a 10-hour workday, that can add almost an extra day to the schedule. And if you've got a 3-month post-production schedule or a 5-month post-production schedule, that becomes academic, where you're going to be working shorter hours and more days. So perhaps it has to do with the fact that they literally wouldn't be able to finish these movies when they thought they were going to be able to finish them. And the push came as a result of the new IATSE rules. That was the thing that I thought of, which makes sense to me, but that might not be true. Just so everyone knows, this is speculation on my part. But it's just a bummer that we have to wait longer to see these movies. But hey, it's maybe I'll die myself before I see the new Indiana Jones movie, and perhaps I'll be a better man for that, because maybe it's going to be as disappointing as Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, but I hope not. I want it to be good, but my God, John, a whole nother year? That's a lot of time I could get hit by a bus.
Well, again, that's just for the one film. I mean, the other ones have, and as you move further down the line, and once the movies start rolling out, I don't think we're going to notice that much. So honestly, look, I know the headline looks shocking. And when you bring up, let's take a look at this new updated release calendar here from the folks over at Variety. When you look down, Doctor Strange has moved. Multiverse of Madness moves from March 25th to May 6th. Again, not that big of a move. Thor Love and Thunder moves. Black Panther moves. The Indiana Jones move. An untitled Disney live action previously dated on 7/14 is removed from the schedule. The Marvels, originally slated for November 11th, now moves to February 2023. Again, not that big of a delay. But I understand when you look at this long list, this long list, it looks big and daunting, but it's actually not that big of a deal. It's just like everything is going to get nudged. And in a lot of the movies' cases, it's only by a number of single-digit weeks. I mean, that's really it, Rob. But for a lot of these films, it's a matter of single-digit weeks, and it's just the whole thing moved. Again, I understand when you just look at the list, it looks like a big, long list, and it looks like a whole bunch of catastrophe. But I actually don't think it's that big of a deal, and it's still a little bit far away. So I think everything is going to be just fine. No need to worry anybody. No need to panic. It's a small bump. It's not going to be that big of a deal. Anyway, guys, the question is for you. What do you think of these delays? Maybe you feel this is a much bigger issue than we think it is. Maybe you think this is something that is indicative of maybe several problems that are going on. Maybe you're like me and don't think it's actually that big of a deal at all. Bumping Indiana Jones a full year, I don't understand that one, but hey, that's another thing for another time, I suppose. What do you guys think about all this? Jump down into the comment section below and leave us your thoughts. Okay, guys, with that down, let's now move into our main topics here today, shall we? And how do we select our main topics here on the John Campea Show? Well, it's really simple. You see, you guys come up with them. Whenever you come across a big topic, issue, or story that you guys feel we need to cover as a main topic on the show, just go anytime 24/7 over to www.thejohncampeashow.com/contact. Once you guys get there, you're going to see a form. Fill it out with your topic or question. It's absolutely free. Hit submit, and then maybe, just maybe, you might see your submission featured as a main topic here on the John Campea Show. That down, let's get into main topic number 1. And our first main topic today gets submitted to us by Eric the Red, who writes, "Hey, John and Rob, I saw Halloween Kills over the weekend, and while I didn't love it, I did have a pretty good time. Did you see that the opening weekend hit over $50 million? I think that's pretty impressive, especially considering the times that we're in right now. What do you think?" All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, man. And yes, now you guys know me. I'm a big fan of the 2018 Halloween. I love that movie. It's the first Halloween film I actually liked, and I loved it. So, obviously, I was pretty excited about being able to finally see the follow-up and see the new one. I am like you, Eric the Red. I did not love it. I didn't hate it. I didn't think it was bad, but I honestly didn't get a lot out of it. To me, it was a significant step down from the last one. But you're right. Opening weekend has come, and it's actually done pretty damn good business. This comes to us from the Hollywood Reporter, who writes, "David Gordon Green's Halloween Kills is doing killer business at the domestic box office, where it scared up the biggest horror opening of the pandemic era. It also boasts the top start for a movie launching simultaneously in theaters and on a streaming service at no extra cost." But we'll talk about that in just a second. Green's R-rated slasher pick earned $50.4 million from 3,705 theaters in North America. Halloween Kills also launched Friday on Universal's sister streaming service, Peacock. And that again comes to us from the Hollywood Reporter. All right. First things first. That's a good number. $50 million for this movie that had a budget of, I think, $7. I mean, in actuality, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Rob, I think I heard the production budget on this movie was like $26 million.
Right.
You do an opening weekend of $50 million on a $26 million budget, dude, you pop bottles. So that's great. Now, a couple things to temper that with. The Hollywood Reporter's making a big deal out of the fact that look how much money it made, especially when you consider that it launched on streaming at the same time. Well, yes, but as we talked about, Rob, on this show a couple of weeks ago, you have to remember that it didn't launch on Disney Plus or HBO Max or a significant streamer. It launched on Peacock, which, number one, very few people have. And number two, as we explained a few weeks ago, it only launched on Peacock for people who had the higher paid tier of Peacock, which is even a smaller number of people. So launching Halloween Kills on Peacock at the same time was never really going to have that big of an impact because very, very few people actually have the higher paid tier. I do. I pay for Peacock because I actually really like Peacock, even though I still cringe a little bit whenever I say the name. But I have it, but very, very few people had, so it wasn't going to affect it too much on that end. The other thing to temper the excitement a little bit, though, Rob, is this. While $50 million opening for this, a movie on a $26 million budget, again, if I'm right about that, is great, it still represents a rather significant dip from the opening weekend of the first Jamie Lee Curtis new round of Halloween films in 2018. That opened to $76 million. Now, again, we're still in pandemic recovery mode. We can't expect it to make the same as much as the film in 2018 did. But I'm not going to lie. I was actually thinking it might make a little bit more than that. I was thinking it'd make in the mid 60s, but still a $50 million opening in this climate, making almost double the budget of the movie initially. I don't see any other way than to qualify this as a big win for the movie. Rob, you saw the box office results for Halloween Kills. Are you surprised? What does it mean? How significant is it? What do you think?
Well, my admiration for Jason Blum and Blumhouse continues to rise, because they seem to be the only concern in Hollywood that can make modestly budgeted films open theatrically to big numbers. And you've got to give it up. I mean, their last Halloween movie was a huge hit. They planned this as a trilogy. 26 million is probably the most expensive Blumhouse movie at this point, and they still managed to open up with 50 million bucks. I mean, we were talking about whether or not No Time to Die would open to $50 million, and that movie cost 300 million. And it's incredible. And I think, look, obviously moviegoers were happy about it, and Blumhouse is happy about it. I'm sure Universal's happy about it too. I think it's a big win all the way around for everybody. So, I just give it up for that. Still modestly budgeted films can come out from studios and make money. I think there's something to be said for that.
And it's a template that I hope other studios can look at, because it's great that we have the big blockbusters. I mean, we always want those, but it's great that Blumhouse is out there showing, hey guys, we can make these small, modestly budgeted films and make legitimate money in the theaters. And I hope more people are able to do on that. Again, I didn't love this movie, but I'm super thrilled to see its success. Question is for you guys. What do you think about the opening weekend box office for Halloween Kills? I think it's pretty impressive, not nearly as good as the first one, but you got to understand we're in different circumstances right now. I think it's a big win. How do you guys see it? Jump on down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. And by the way, guys, our friend the Batman sends in a super chat badge in the live chat. Thank you, the Batman. Appreciate that, man. All right. With that down, let's move on to main topic number 2. Rob, what is our second main topic today?
Well, this comes to us from Finn Arturo, who says, "Good morning, movie crew. Devastated. I am devastated. I just read that FX has canceled Y the Last Man on Hulu before the first season is even finished airing. I understand that maybe the ratings haven't been great, but why not wait until the season is done to give it a fair evaluation? This is one of the most unique shows out there right now. Why do you think they did this?" Well, I would say to Finn, the ratings it's academic. I mean, how many people are watching the show? And I agree with you. I think that, at least give, it's kind of like what happened to Swamp Thing,
Yeah, but Swamp Thing, they literally canceled after the first episode.
Yeah, it was
one episode.
That was very odd. But, if no one's watching the show, and I have to say, I found the show, I watched the first couple episodes, it was disappointing to me because I really loved the graphic novel. I read the whole thing. And it kind of bummed me out. And Variety says, Y the Last Man has been canceled by FX weeks before its first season debuts its final episode. The news was shared by showrunner Eliza Clark through her Twitter on Sunday. Clark thanks FX and the show's creative team for their partnership on the project. She also expresses hope that Y the Last Man will be able to continue its run at a different network. We've learned that we will not be moving forward with FX on Hulu for season 2 of Y the Last Man. I have never in my life been more committed to a story, and there is so much more left to tell, except on Hulu, where it's not going to be showing. John, I don't know why. I kind of like the pilot, the first episode, and it just isn't clicking, and I really can't put my finger on why I feel that way. What did you think? Did you check out the show?
I did. I watched the first 4 episodes. And I think the way you described it is completely accurate. It just didn't click, and by the way, it should be mentioned too, they did a terrible job raising awareness of this show, because I remember when it launched, I have been keeping my eye on it, and the week it was coming out, I was like, oh wait, what? It's coming out this week? Like, they did such a bad job of raising awareness for the show at all. raising awareness for the graphic novel. They didn't at all, Rob, in their marketing for this, they didn't at all lean into from the celebrated, graphic novel that's about this. They should have been pumping that and talking about it. But that aside, Rob, we often talk about the fact that sometimes, maybe even oftentimes, adaptation is much more difficult to do than original, because you're taking an existing property, which means it comes with a certain set of expectations. It comes with some audience familiarity. It comes with some rules that you're going to have to follow doing an adaptation. Whereas with an original script, you can just do whatever you want. Whatever works, you can make that happen. And sometimes doing an adaptation can be tricky and difficult. And just because something works on a printed page doesn't mean it's going to work on the screen. And as I was watching Y: The Last Man, I'm with you. I thought the pilot was interesting, the way they did the pilot. But once they moved beyond that, I never got any sense that this was a world that was evolving. Again, it's difficult. Like we talked with Snake Eyes, it's difficult to like a show when you don't like its antagonist. And what's the main character's name? Yorick? Is that Yorick?
Yorick. Yep.
Yorick was an asshole in the show. It's just not likable at all. Diane Lane was fantastic as his mother. Oh, she's so good in this. But it just never clicked. So for me, Rob, it's a combination of the fact that, number one, they didn't raise awareness for it. So no, I don't think a lot of people even knew what this show was or that it was even there. Number two, it's a tricky graphic novel to translate onto the screen and make it really engaging. So I think the people that did watch it, like myself and you, weren't falling in love with it. Some people were. Obviously, the person who wrote in really loved it, and I'm sure there are others who did. But for a lot of us, it just didn't really quite click. And so it's a combination of things. Now, as for why did they cancel it now before letting it finish out its run? I think there's another way of looking at it. I think there was enough episodes aired that FX and Hulu were able to look at it and say, this isn't working.
Right.
And we don't see the numbers increasing. We're not seeing a lot of social media engagement. We don't hear a lot of buzz. Okay, we know we're not going to do a second season. I think it then becomes courteous, Rob, for them to let the showrunner know as soon as possible. Like, why leave her hanging not knowing if she's going to get a second season or not when you've already made your decision? And so I think, was probably more courtesy than anything else to let her know, look, we don't think this is working. We're not going to renew for a second season. And by the way, we're going to let you know now. So if you guys do want to try to shop this around to another network, we want to give you as much head start as possible. Because they could have waited, Rob, until the season ended and then say, by the way, we decided 3 months ago to cancel your show. And it's like, well, that's 3 months that we could have used shopping for another network. And so I actually think it's a pretty good thing that they did that. Nothing explains that Swamp Thing situation. I'll never understand the Swamp Thing.
Neither.
Like, canceled it after one episode. I'll never get that. But I see it more of a courtesy thing, right? How do you see that? The fact that they announced it now?
I think that they knew they were going to do it. So why not, pull the Band-Aid off now as opposed to later? I think now the entertainment landscape is such that, they know that they have the returns. They know if people are watching things. I mean, look at the opposite end of the spectrum with Squid Game. It was announced that that's worth almost $900 million to Netflix because of how many people are watching it. And they only spent like $21 million to acquire it. I mean, that's just monstrously huge for them. And they know, with the analytics, they know immediately. And I agree with something you said earlier. This film or the series, this was a series I was really interested in seeing. And because they've been trying to make this for years. And I remember seeing the first promo for it. And I'm like, I totally forgot this was even being made.
Yep.
And when the first trailer was really good. And I'm like, when is this going to be on? I had to look up, where's it airing?
Yep.
Who's putting it out? And I feel that way. It's one of those series that even when I watched the first episode, I had to remind myself that it was even on, like for the second episode, whereas something like Squid Game, I can't wait to get to. Obviously I'm binging that, but you're like, wait, I didn't even know this was on. And even after I started watching it, I had to remind myself that it was on.
Yeah.
It's
And it's a
just
shame because so many of us have been waiting for so long. Remember, like it was like 10 years ago when I can't remember that it was the director from Eagle Eye. I can't remember his name, but he was supposed to direct it, and Shia LaBeouf was going to star as Yurik in it, and they were going to do a big feature film. And a lot of us have been waiting for this, and then it finally got onto the screen. A little bit of a fizzle. Anyway.
a little bit.
Yeah. Guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? From the numbers, I'm going to guess a lot of you weren't even watching Why the Last Man. Anyway, if you were, did you enjoy the show? Are you surprised it's getting canceled? What do you think about them announcing the cancellation even before the first season is done filming? Whatever you guys are feeling about this, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. And by the way, a big thank you to our friend Rhett Proctor, who sends in a $20 super chat badge in the live chat. Thank you, Rhett. Appreciate that, man, very much. All right, guys, with that down, let's move on to main topic number 3. And our third main topic today gets submitted to us by Tiffany Rice, who writes, first of all, John, I'd like to thank you for all the attention and coverage you've given to the situation with IATSE in recent weeks. I'm a member and was very relieved when we got word that a new deal was made that will help our situation a lot. Not everyone is thrilled with the deal, but I think it puts us in a much better position than we were before. Do you think the right deal was made? All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, Tiffany. And yes, glory, glory, hallelujah, saints be praised. The Armageddon has been postponed. We've been talking about for a couple of weeks now, for those of you guys who haven't been watching or been able to see, the fact that IATSE, the union representing practically all the below-the-line production people in Hollywood, was set to go on strike this morning at 12:01 a.m. And if they went on strike, everything shuts down. It's not an exaggeration to say everything in Hollywood shuts down. Television, movie production, you name it. Without those people, you cannot make stuff. And, we had my friend Spencer on the show last week, who is a member. He's got like over 30 credits.
Yep.
He was a member. His wife is also a member of the union as well, talking about explaining what was at stake and what was going on. And Rob, I always expressed some optimism that I thought they'd get a deal done. And apparently it got done. A deal did get done over this weekend. This comes to us from the folks over at The Verge who write, the new 3-year deal. So it's only 3 years. That's interesting. So they bought themselves. They're like, okay, let's all settle for this agreement, but we don't have to live with it for too awful long. All right. The new 3-year deal, which still has to be ratified by members, and we'll talk about that in a minute, includes retroactive wage increases of 3% annually, daily rest periods of 10 hours, and weekend rest periods of 54 hours, according to a post on IATSE's website. It also includes improved wages and working conditions for streaming, but no specific details on what that includes. Streaming was a major sticking point in the negotiations. Under IATSE's existing contract, streaming productions received greater flexibility regarding pay and benefits to workers. That's because when the contract was negotiated all the way back in 2009, streaming was a very new industry with an unclear market. So that comes to us from The Verge. All right. This is interesting. And I'll tell you what, so there are a bunch of things they got. Spencer was expressing that, we need more break time. This isn't survivable. This isn't healthy. We need longer turnaround time than what we've been getting. Some productions were getting like 6 hours of turnaround time, Rob. We need that. We need to address the pay increases, all that kind of stuff. Did IATSE get everything they wanted? No, they didn't. But they did get a bunch, and they get to go back to the table again in just 3 years. So, where they could get more concessions at that time. Now, Tiffany brought up an interesting point, Rob, in her message, saying that there are a number of people in the union that don't like this deal, that don't like the deal. And I was with my friend Spencer this weekend, actually. Me, Spencer, his wife, my wife, a few other friends, we got together this weekend, and he was saying, yeah. Definitely, there are some people in the union that are not happy with the deal. A bunch of us are, a bunch of us aren't, a bunch of us feel we got something. But Rob, I'll tell you something my real estate agent told me. and I've never heard it put this way before myself, but I love what he said. He said, because, you and I, we probably think of it in terms, it's a good deal when both sides are happy. That's when it's a good deal. My real estate agent said something completely opposite. He said this, you've got a successful deal when everybody's a little unhappy, because that means both sides compromised. You have a good deal when everybody ends up a little bit unhappy, because that means that everybody had a compromise. And I think this is a good thing. It keeps everybody working. It keeps Hollywood up and running. But Rob, again, I think the key thing that not a lot of the outlets are focusing on, but I think is a huge, huge deal, is that this deal is only for 3 years, which means, okay, we've bought ourselves some time. We're going to now continue to work with these people to highlight the fact that, hey, coming in 3 years, we are going to want this, this, and this. So it may not be everything, but I think it's a deal that the union should probably ratify. The union, by the way, the leadership has struck the deal, but now they got to send that deal to the union members who have to vote on it and ratify it. I think it will get ratified, not by 98% like the strike authorization vote was, but I do think it's going to be ratified. Anyway, Rob, you had a chance. I know you've been following this whole story very closely with a lot of interest. Of course, all of Hollywood getting shut down is a pretty big deal. Oh, Mandalorian just started shooting season 3. Guess what? That's about to stop. But Rob, you've taken a look at this. How do you feel about the deal that got done? Good, bad? Should union people be happy with it, not happy with it? Should the producers be happy with it? What do you think?
Well, I think it's a good start. Obviously, the awareness of the working conditions and things that are happening in the industry, there had to be change, John. There had to be. And this has been a long time coming. And sure, everybody's not going to get everything that they want. And I've been on both sides of this issue. So I can see it from both perspectives. But I think the real victory here is the idea of changing the Hollywood workday to 10 hours as opposed to 12 hours. That was something that really needed to happen. And now it has. And I'm hoping that will have a tremendous effect to sort of make the business a better place to work. It's going to be harder for John. I'll flat out tell you, as an independent producer like I am, it's hard. We don't have the kind of money that it's going to cost. We have to find money to add days to a schedule. And that's tough on the indie level. But on the studio level and the television side, the movie side and the television side, I think it really needed to happen. So from that perspective, I would say, while everyone might not be happy with the deal, I think that it ultimately has changed the industry for the better. And that's always a good thing. So I would say that's the best thing that I think came out of all of this. Open wages, but really it's the shorter work days, which makes life better for everybody.
And extend more of a weekend for people.
Yes.
I think you pointed out, as we were talking about an earlier topic here, that this is ultimately going to make TV shows and movies cost more to make, because you pointed out earlier, Rob, this means now with longer turnaround times, more break times, that means they're going to have to add on days and weeks and everything to the production time. And every hour, Rob, I remember you pointed out when you break it down on an hourly basis, how much every hour costs when you're trying to make these shows.
Seconds, John. Seconds cost money.
So this is going to cost money. So I don't know, maybe they're going to have to go and take a little bit of that $15 million paycheck that your lead actor gets and start figuring that in. So it's going to be interesting to see how this affects it. But guys, for me, I think the key thing here is the most brilliant part of this negotiation is that it's only a 3-year deal, which gives everybody a short turnaround time to work with this and then go back to the table again. I think this is going to get ratified. I'd be surprised if it doesn't, but who knows? Maybe there's more to say. What do you guys think about this whole situation? Jump on down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Okay, guys, with that down, let's move on to main topic number 4. Rob, what is our 4th main topic today?
Well, John, this comes from Darth Vendor.
I like that name.
Hey, John, thank you so much for doing the live stream with DC Fandome this weekend. It made watching it worthwhile. Honestly, I think I would have tuned out after the first hour otherwise. I mean, seriously, more time was given to Cam Newton's hats than Flash or Black Adam. I wanted to ask, how could they blow it so badly after such a good one last year? Well, I have to say, John, I watched DC Fandome. I had it on the entire time, and I don't know why I did, because I feel the same way as Darth Vader does. I'm like, how do you, first of all of the people, and this is I mean, I don't mean to criticize the people they had who are hosting in between each one of these segments. But
hey, Tiffany Smith was great. I thought Tiffany was like one of the only highlights for me of the whole thing.
I agree.
She was great.
I mean, she was great, but the rest of I mean, there's a lot. It just seems so insincere. You know, I guess that's kind of the way I would put it. And I did really like last year's event, and this year, dude, it was interminable. I'm like, show me what I want. Show me what I want to see. And Comic Book Movie says DC Fandome often veered from unbearable filler, the Suicide Squad's Flulaborg reeling off terrible jokes, and endless galleries of fan art to being all too brief. The Flash shared a minute-long sneak peek that teased Michael Keaton's Batman, despite concept art from last year showing him suited up alongside the Scarlet Speedster. The celebrity guests, meanwhile, either read scripted promos or looked like they'd rather be somewhere else. Ultimately, there was nothing here to break the internet. Why not share a first look at the Justice Society, for example? That comes to us from Comic Book Movie. Dude, I can't agree more. I have to tell you, I think my favorite thing was even before the Batman trailer, they had that behind-the-scenes segment from the Batman. And I think my two favorite things were that behind-the-scenes segment and the behind-the-scenes segment on Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, which looks bonkers and great. And I agree with what Comic Book Movie said. God, you could have shown us, you know, Michael Keaton back in the bat suit. Like, I don't understand why they show Ezra Miller about to take the cover off the Batmobile, and they cut away from it before he did so. We know what's under there, so let us see it, you know? Yeah. And I wanted just a little bit more look. I will say this. I did think the glimpses they gave us of everything from Shazam to Aquaman, all the live action feature film stuff, I'm excited for. I just wish I could have been more excited for it. What did you think?
Dude, it was a train wreck. That was an unmitigated, disastrous, pathetic train wreck.
Well, since you put it that way.
I'm sorry. Everybody come and watch DC Fandome. It's our big event. Oh, if you're a DC fan, you got to come to DC Fandome, because how the fuck else are you going to know about Cam Newton's Superman hats? How else are you going to know about Dove soap sponsorship? How else are you going to know about the Puma athletic wear that you get to wear, guys? Oh, and don't forget, Flash has gold boots now. What they fucking do? Breaking news. And by the way, they run all these breaking news segments throughout the whole thing with no news. No news. Meanwhile, DC Fandome is like, everybody, this is it. This is the event. You gotta be here to watch this. And what did they show? In a nearly 4-hour stream, they gave us 1 minute of Flash. Rob, I didn't time it, but I felt like they spent 4 or 5 minutes. And there's nothing wrong with that they did this. I felt like they spent 4 or 5 minutes talking about Stargirl, and that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. And they gave us 1 minute of the Flash. Why the fuck do you think people are here watching? Do you think they're here to watch Stargirl? I'm sure some people are interested in it. That's great. Promote it. Nothing wrong with that. But people are here to see Flash. You gave us literally like a 5-minute presentation of Flash last year, a year ago. Like a 5-minute presentation with the directors and the producers talking about it, showing concept art and blah, blah, blah. And now here we are, actually within spitting distance of when the movie's coming out, like we're within striking distance of it now, and you give us 1 minute? And comic book movie put it really well. Like last year, you're showing us concept art of Michael Keaton.
Well, did you see Andy Muschietti's wife? I don't know if she was talking to some Asian site because it was subtitled, I think, in Japanese or something.
Who's a producer, by the way, who's a producer on the film, by the way.
She's a producer on the film. She says, it was really great seeing Ben Affleck and Michael Keaton both suit up in their cowls. And I'm just like, what? what? Show us that. Like, come on now.
Yeah, you don't have to give away the farm. You don't have to show us everything. No. But you literally gave us 5 times more of Flash content last year. And don't get me wrong, this Ava DuVernay project, I think it's called Naomi, looks really interesting to me. It really does. But you gave us 3 times the screen time to that as you did to Black Adam. And look, I loved the Flash sizzle. I loved that little 8-second clip of Black. It was longer than that, but it felt like 8-second clip of Black Adam.
That was pretty cool how he killed that dude.
Oh, dude, it was awesome. I mean, that stuff was great, but we are talking about a almost 4-hour live stream that maybe had 10 minutes worth of stuff worth watching.
John, I got to tell you, the thing that really pissed me off is when they brought Jim Lee on to talk about the mosaic patterns that he was doing. Mm-hmm. And they showed this artwork and they put it together and they teased the fact that they might be doing another Crisis on Infinite Earths. And then they did this cheeky thing where they bleeped out everything that he was saying. And I'm like, wait, what? As a comic book fan, I'm like, what? What? If you're going to promote something and then not promote it, I mean, you're teasing whatever it is. I wanted to hear what he had to say, and they didn't do it. They bleeped him out because they were being cheeky. I'm like, come on, man. I was pissed off. I'm like, why'd you do that to me?
Let me focus on the positive for a second. There were some things that were great. We already mentioned the little that they showed us of Flash. I love seeing it. The little that they showed us of Black Adam, love seeing it. Again, why no panel? Why not even a panel? Why not just have the director and somebody talking about the movie? Give us some insight into it, whatever. The footage they showed for Shazam looked great. I love seeing, it
looked great.
Oh,
the Marvel family, the action looked great. That
all looked really good. I like the behind the scene, the new look at the Suicide Squad video game that's coming. I thought that was great. I liked what we saw for Peacemaker, but again, in the midst of a almost 4-hour stream, all this stuff I'm mentioning maybe accumulated to about 10, 11 minutes. While they spend all this time about a quarterback who's not even in the NFL anymore talking about, yeah, man, you got to see my Superman. You got to see my Superman-inspired hats, dude. Oh, my God, you're going to love my superhero. Really? This is what we're spending our time on? And, Rob, what really highlighted to me was that they need to do different events. Because while I acknowledge that DC Fandome is meant to be for fans of everything that is DC, I get that. But what is an unshakable truth is also the fact that 90% of the people who tuned in to watch this were tuning in to watch for the movie news. They were tuning in to watch for what they were going to bring to the TV. They were tuning in to watch the stuff that's supposed to be on screen. And separate the other stuff out, maybe create 2 different events. But Rob, that leads us to a third thing that would really drove me crazy about this DC Fandome. There was no news. There was no news. There was no surprise announcement. There was nothing like that. And God help those poor Green Lantern fans out there who thought that you at the big DC event this year, you'd think they'd at least say the words Green Lantern. And they at least say the words. And they never did. And Rob, I don't know about you, but I've been getting tons of messages on all my various platforms, people saying, where the hell was Green Lantern? Look, even if you don't have anything to show, even if you don't have specific big news, saying, don't forget, guys, our writers are hard at work at Green Lantern. We announced this back in 1835 is when we announced it, and we know it's not here yet, but our guys are still working on it. We think you're going to love the vision that we at least talk about it. There were people who literally tuned into this to see nothing but what are they going to say about Green Lantern? They gave us nothing on anything that's coming outside of 2022. Let's put it this way. if DC hopped on Twitter and said, hey guys, tomorrow we're doing a special event. We're going to call it DC Fandom. Why don't you come over and check it out? And then they did that one event. I would have thought it was great. But this is supposed to be their big annual, woohoo, everybody come watch this. Oh, if you're a DC fan, you can't miss this. It was drivel. It was such a waste. And then, Rob, they made you wait those 4 hours to watch a Batman trailer, which we'll talk about in a minute, that they literally then put up online on YouTube 3 minutes later. That everybody in the world, you didn't need to sit through. You didn't need to sit through that snore fest to watch it. And I guess part of the reason why I was so disappointed was because I thought they did such a great job with it last year. Last year's was a lot of fun, Rob. It was a lot of fun.
I agree with you.
And this year they just, oh God, they shit the bed. They completely shit the bed on this. And again, other than Tiffany doing the best she could to try to make that thing watchable, and a big raise of the glass, everybody, to Tiffany Smith. And my God, if you did sit through that direct yesterday, y'all should be tweeting a thank you message to Tiffany for trying to make that thing move as well as she did. But my God, it was awful. It was, I will tell you right now, I'm not going to watch this thing again next year. If they do it again, I'm not going to watch it next year. I will literally wait until 10 minutes after it's done and watch the highlight clips on YouTube, because I have no reason to have faith in this event anymore. It should have been so much better. I will not be wasting my time on this again. So, and again, just such a shame when you look at how good it was last year. Rob, as I've been ranting and raving here, have you had any more thoughts pop into your head about things that worked for you, things that didn't work for you, whatever?
I mean, I think you nailed it pretty much. I mean, I think the idea that there was no earth-shattering news. I mean, we didn't learn anything. I will say this. Look, my desire to see behind-the-scenes stuff from the movies was sated. I mean, I feel
the Aquaman stuff was great. I thought the Aquaman stuff was great.
Really, there's you know me. I mean, we went and saw Aquaman together. I love the first Aquaman, and I just love seeing it. It just looks like they're having as much fun making that movie as it is to watch the first Aquaman for me. And I love to know that. I love to be able to see. And I felt the same way about the Shazam stuff they showed. It just looked like, well, that looks fun. The costumes look great. I was lukewarm on the first Shazam, but I'm really excited. Dude, seeing Helen Mirren kicking some ass, come on.
Oh.
Bring it on. and not since Judi Dench played M am I so excited to see I don't want to call her elderly, but a British actress who is not a youngster kicking some mighty butt. And I was like, yeah, man, bring that on. So I did enjoy those things, but it was interminable to get through. Just interminable to get through.
But Rob, gold boots, Rob.
Dude.
Gold boots. That saves everything.
And then, you know what I really didn't like? I know they're celebrating the fans, but when they showed fan art, it was on for like half a second. I mean, at least add a second to everyone's artwork or cosplay, because there was some really great work on display. And I'm like, wait, let me see it for. It's gone.
Yeah, I like that part. They did that last year too. I really did like, because that made it feel like it was about the fans, like showing their cosplay and showing artwork. Although, I like that.
It wasn't on long enough to even register all the work that had been done.
And I was doing my stream, and about halfway through the stream, when like the fourth or fifth news flash, get it? Flash, because she stars in the Flash. By the way, I like her. I like the girl who plays Iris on Flash. I know a lot of people shit on her, but I think she's actually really good. But at any rate, about halfway through the thing, somebody put in the live chat, there was like, has anybody noticed that these news flashes don't actually contain any news? It's like, yeah. So I don't know, but listen, there was some good stuff in it. It just was so little and so far in between oh my God. Anyway, guys, the question is for you. What did you think about DC Fandome? To me, it literally could have been a 15-minute YouTube video, and it would have been far more effective than the nearly 4-hour snores fest that it was. But that's just my take on it. Maybe you loved it. Maybe you had a great time with it. Maybe you were really interested in a lot of the other stuff. And if that's so, awesome. I'm glad you got some enjoyment out of it. But what is it you guys think? Jump on down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Okay, guys. With that down, let's move into main topic number 5. And our 5th main topic today gets submitted to us by Philip G, who writes, "Hello, John and Rob. Well, I had to sit through an almost unwatchable 3.5 hours of DC fandom to finally get to what we were really looking for, the Batman trailer. Holy F, it was awesome. This movie is looking so much better than I thought it could. The tone of it is dark and heavy, the action looks top shelf, and I'm really buying into Pattinson as the younger Batman. What did you guys think of it?" All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, man. And yeah, look, during the live stream itself, and my camera went out. During the live stream itself, I was mentioning, people were asking, like, when do you think they're going to drop the Batman trailer? And everybody knew it's going to be the last thing that they show.
Yeah.
It's going to be the last thing they show. And this is an appropriate time that the Batman also sends like a $50 super chat badge in the live chat with a pretty awesome looking transforming hippo. Thank you, Batman. I appreciate it. Thank you so much, man, for supporting us on that level. But I said, I mean, it's going to be the last thing because they know people are going to tune out of this. I think they knew how bad this thing was, this pre-recorded scripted thing that they did. And they're like, you got to keep the Batman thing to last because if we put Batman on in hour 1, they're all going to tune out. So they kept it right till last. And they did save the best for last. They absolutely saved the best for last. Rob, I really liked that first Batman trailer that we got last year. I really liked it. This was a different level. This oozes everything about that era of Batman that we expect. Rob, this trailer for Batman, I'm going to try to keep calm as I discuss this, but it soaked in the DNA of what Batman should feel like. It's soaked. You know, Robert Pattinson was even talking a little bit before they showed the clip. It's like, this is a Batman who's, I mean, I'm paraphrasing him here a little bit, but this is a Batman who's still trying to figure himself out. This is an angry Batman. This is a damaged Batman. And what is Batman if not these things? We are talking about a kid who literally watched his parents shot in the face in front of him and die. That broke him. And we are now seeing a Batman that is still early in his career, that is still trying to figure out how to deal with the rage and make it productive. And he's angry. And that anger, that rage that's part of the Batman, like the way Michael Keaton said, the rage, you know, that was present. The cinematography of it, the color palette of it, Rob, the music that was playing during it, the visceralness of those fight sequences that didn't feel like Batman is a high wire walking ninja. He is a brutal fighting machine. And that one scene in the hallway when the guys are like shooting machine guns and the entire scene is lit up by the flashes of the gun. First of all, again, the cinematography. Oh my God, beautiful imagery. Love seeing Andy Serkis as Alfred, even if it was just for short little peeps. I like the fact that they're not revealing Riddler's face yet. I mean, I cannot wait to see Paul Dano in this.
I know.
If it wasn't for the fact that Daniel Day-Lewis maybe gave the single greatest performance in movie history in There Will Be Blood, I think a lot more people will be talking about Paul Dano's performance in that movie, because I thought Paul Dano in that movie was Oscar worthy as well. Paul Dano's fantastic. And to see him as Riddler, oh my God, I showed Anne the trailer for the first time today. And as Penguin's driving away, he's like, I got you. I paused. I said, do you know who that is, honey? She goes, she said, I think that's Penguin, right? I said, first of all, good on you that you were able to put that together. That's Penguin. Yes, it's Penguin. But do you know who the actor is? She was looking at him. She goes, no. I'm like, that's Colin Farrell. She's like, no, seriously, who is it? I'm like, no. That's Colin Farrell. And oh my God, I loved Penguin in this trailer. It's like, you're everything they say you are, aren't you? I mean, everything about like, oh my God, like this trailer ended. And I'm like, again, the music, the color, the cinematography, I mean, now look, Rob, this is just a trailer. The movie might suck. It is just a trailer. But Matt Reeves seems to have captured everything that I've been wanting to see in a Batman film. It seems like he really did. Listen, we got to take what Ben Affleck did with Batman, that understanding the nature of Batman, that the the cowl is his real face, and the Bruce Wayne face is the actual mask. He took it to the next logical step of that. Zoe Kravitz looks amazing. Those silhouette shots, Rob, of Zoe Kravitz and Robert Pattinson standing there as Catwoman and Batman, man, I'm like, these are shots that are like right out of the comic book. Like, and just, God, I love this trailer. I love this trailer. Rob, anyway, I've been going on. What did you think about the Batman trailer?
Oh, I like you. I really loved it. Again, it was, it was different than the last trailer they showed, a year ago?
Yeah.
Which had more of a 7 vibe to it. But this, the idea that it's much more of a gritty crime thriller, much more grounded even than the Christopher Nolan movies. I mean, I really like this trailer a lot. I mean, I got to tell you, that thing with Penguins, I got you, whatever, and then the Batmobile comes right out of the burning flames and lands, and then
oh my God,
smashes
so good.
into the back of the car and it flips over. And I love that upside down shot. That was the last shot of the film.
Oh God. Okay. Can I say something here? Cause I'm so glad you brought this up. I'm so glad you brought this up because we're watching the trailer with Ann, right? And she was like, when they did that shot, it's like, wait a minute, is this movie about an evil Batman? I'm like, no, but that captures it. The whole theme of this trailer, Rob, was fear.
Yeah.
And if you are part of the criminal world in Gotham, Batman isn't some shiny hero coming to stop you. He is your fucking nightmare.
Yeah.
He is the stuff that will haunt you. And that whole idea, that last shot where Penguins, first of all, he sees the car come out of flames. It's like, oh shit, look on his face. And then as he's upside down, that was like from a slasher film where he's the victim in the car and all you see are this impending doom walking towards you. They got it, Rob. They got it. Sorry, I interrupted. Please continue.
No, I mean, I just thought that was so cool, and it was really funny. After it played, I immediately went to YouTube, and like you, I'm like, oh, they've got to have a 4K version of that already up, and it was up moments later, and I watched it like 4 or 5 times, and I loved it. I'm like, okay. And what I loved about it was it's a different Batman. I'm always like, well, how are they going to make this different from what they've done before? And I was like, is this going to be too much like a Christopher Nolan version of Batman? And I'm like, no, it's not. Like when the machine gun fire is hitting him and he like just unleashes on those dudes during this strobe light. I mean, it looks ferocious. And I'm like, heck yeah, it does. And I'm stoked. I mean, March 2022 can't come soon enough. I can't wait, dude. I'm stoked.
And again, I got to emphasize, I know I've said this word a lot, but the tone, it's just the tone of it. They just seem, part of the reason why I love the Ben Affleck Batman so much, and I've talked about this ad nauseum, and is that they understood the brokenness of the Batman. And as much as he is analytical and hyper intelligent and the true detective and all that, underneath all that, the Batman was born out of pain, Rob. The Batman was born out of pain. And watching this,
bring it on.
It's just like Matt Reeves, again, gleaned a lot from Ben Affleck's portrayal as Batman. Matt Reeves so gets it. That's what just makes this clear. He gets it. And I got a sense of that from the first trailer. This trailer drives it home. It absolutely drives it home. And Rob, I cannot remember the last time I have been as excited about a superhero movie trailer as I am about this Batman trailer. I'm not going to call it the greatest trailer of all time or anything. I'm just saying, for right now, I can't remember the last time I watched a trailer for a comic book movie and so lost my shit. Like, this was glorious, absolutely glorious. So,
no, dude, it was, I mean, there might be cynics out there that say, do we really need more Batman movies? My answer is always yes, we do. And this trailer, I'm like, I'm so there for it. Now, there's a lot of people. And God bless our fandom. People are like, well, I don't like Robert Pattinson looking like the emo. I mean, but Batman is emo. I mean, the whole reason he's Batman is because he's emotionally scarred from his
He
trauma.
lives in a cave.
I mean, it's like, I don't like his long hair. He looks like the front man for an emo rock band. I'm like, yes, that's exactly who Batman is. And I thought Pattinson looked great. I will say this, though. I did find his, I don't know how they recorded him and Matt Reeves and Zoe Kravitz, but Robert Pattinson did not look happy to be there.
None of them did, though, Rob. That's the thing about the whole DC fan. None of them looked happy to be there.
Yeah, but Matt Reeves did. It's like Matt Reeves talked a lot. And I was like,
yeah.
And Robert Pattinson, you never even saw a toothy grin from the guy. It was like,
well, he's Batman, Rob. He can't be happy.
That's right.
He's Batman.
That is right. He's Batman. He's certainly, judging from his morose appearance, I'm like, you know what? They cast this well.
Anyway, guys, real quick, I'm sure we'll talk some more about this in the coming days, but the question is for you. A big highlight, wonderful way to end a disastrous DC fandom, but I'll tell you what, they ended on a high note. You got to give them that. I thought the Batman trailer was unbelievable. Question is, guys, what did you guys think about that Batman trailer? How did it hit you? Whatever you guys are thinking, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. By the way, I just want to highlight again, the Batman sent in a couple of more of those $50 super chat badges in live chat just because we're giving him so much promotion. Bruce is liking that we're pumping the Batman movie a lot. No, but seriously, whoever the Batman is in the live chat, thank you so much, man, for supporting our channel at that level. As well as our friend Marie Seifring also sends in a super chat badge in the live chat as well. So thank you so much, guys, for your support. All right, guys. With all that down, let's now move on and start taking your live comments and questions. Once again, if you want to get a live comment or question on the show or an upcoming companion video, simply go down to the tip link that's in the description of this video or enter it in manually at www.streamelements.com/movieblogtv/tip. You'll be getting your comment or question read on a show if it's appropriate for our show. And of course, you're supporting our channel at the same time. And we all thank you guys so much for your support. Okay. Let's jump on over here, Rob, and start taking some questions here. We're going to get things started with the Jughead, who tips in a $20 super or a $20 tip. Thank you so much, Jughead, who writes, "Hi, John and Rob. Looking forward to the Matt Reeves, the Batman." Obviously, this came in before the DC fandom event happened. "I'm looking forward to the Matt Reeves, the Batman movie. If it becomes a great movie, I think it will be. Can you imagine a Pattinson versus Phoenix Joker? Oh my God, my top Batman, Christian Bale, Adam West, Kevin Conroy, Ben Affleck, Michael Keaton. I ignore all the rest. I know, John, that Batfleck is your favorite Batman. He is right now. I prefer Bat Bale, but I concede that if Ben Affleck had been allowed to direct a solo Batman his way, my God, it would have been awesome." Yes. So first things first, I will say it right now, and I'll come back to, if it ever does happen, I'll come back to this and say I never thought it was going to happen, but you're not going to see the Joaquin Phoenix Joker crossover with other things. I don't think Joaquin Phoenix is into that at all. I don't think the director of the film is into it at all. They created Joker to be its own thing, so they're not crossing that over with Robert Pattinson. And yes, Ben Affleck is my favorite Batman. That doesn't mean it's my favorite Batman films. Obviously, The Dark Knight and all that kind of stuff. I just like Ben Affleck's portrayal. But yeah, I'll always just have to lament and wonder, what if, Rob, if Batman had been able to be made by Ben Affleck at some point. Anyway, Rob, what do you think? Could we see a Pattinson and Joaquin Phoenix crossover? Who's your favorite Batman so far? What do you think?
You know what? If there is going to be a Joker crossover, I could see the same world being depicted in both of those movies, but I would prefer that the Joker movie stay its own thing. But again, I mean, if you have the Joker and you don't have Batman, it is a little weird. I mean, eventually the character was created to be a Batman villain. So eventually, if you're going to keep making Joker movies or you're going to have Joaquin Phoenix come back again, you kind of have to have a Batman at some point. Otherwise, the Joker isn't really the Joker. Well, that was the whole point about the Joker, was to look at him as a standalone individual guy. Because remember, that Joaquin Phoenix, so he was already probably in his late 40s, early 50s. And then now you got to wait another 20 years for little Bruce, the little boy, to now grow up and become Batman.
So now you're talking about that Joker, like a 70 to 80-year-old Joker or a 70-year-old Joker. I don't know. It doesn't kind of line up. But hey, look, this is the movies. Anything is possible. All right. Next up, we've got Pepperjack, who writes, "Hey, John, it appears that you have completely written off Chapek as anything but a disaster going forward. That's not true. Do you see Disney collapsing under his leadership?" Okay, well, first of all, that's not true. What I believe is that Bob Chapek has done a terrible job so far running Disney. I think he's done a terrible job running Disney so far. I'm not going to hide my words, which again makes me shocked that I'm even invited to this Eternals premiere tonight. I am still shocked that Disney is still inviting me to stuff the way I shit talk Bob Chapek. But that being said, but listen, I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just being honest. Like I really think he has done a poor job leading this company so far. But that being said, I have always said that my hope is that, look, he's new to the job. It is a huge job. He took over the job in terrible circumstances with the pandemic. The parks were closed. The movie theaters were closed. Everything was shut down. And I will always say that I will hope for the best, that I am cheering for him. I hope that he learns lessons from these early mistakes. We all make early mistakes. The key is, do you learn from them and then course correct and get better at what you're doing? And I still believe he can do that. So yes, I am very critical of what he has done so far, Rob. I am, and I stand by that. But that doesn't mean I'm not hoping that he can't turn this around and that he doesn't have the ability to turn it around moving forward. We'll have to see. What do you think?
I hope he turns it around. I mean, I don't like to see anybody fail, especially at Disney. By the way, I got to tell you, we have some absolutely bonkers breaking news right now. It's on Deadline. Mel Gibson is the first star set for the John Wick origin series, The Continental.
Oh my gosh.
Is that not bonkers?
Is that true right now?
Dude, it's on Michael Fleming. It dropped at 11 o'clock. It's right on Deadline.
It says Mel Gibson. I'm just going to read this right here, Rob.
Dude.
It says, Mel Gibson is back in hero mode for Hot Seat, a thriller he'll star in with production to begin November in New Mexico. Lionsgate granted, I don't see anything in there. Wait, maybe I'm looking at the wrong story.
You're
this is from October 15th.
This is a headline. A Mel Gibson first star set for John Wick origin series, The Continental, for Stars and Lionsgate Television. It dropped at 11 o'clock.
There it is. There it is.
That's crazy.
Oh my God.
I know.
So it's a prequel to John Wick, The Continental. Wow. All right. Well, we know at least one topic we're going to be talking about tomorrow. We'll save this one for tomorrow, but that's pretty big news. All right. Well, because we were starting to wonder if they were even moving forward with Continental, because we've been waiting for news on that.
I was like, that was another one of those things like, wait, what?
Okay. Well, we'll talk about this more tomorrow. Thanks for bringing that up, man. All right. Let's keep things going. Where are we at here? We're at Ben Rayner. And Ben Rayner writes, "Hey, John, I think it will be Michael Keaton. I think Keaton is going to be the Batman in the DCEU going forward, taking over Batflick and appearing in smaller roles like in Batgirl and Flash and maybe even Shazam. That's just a pure guess. What do you think of this theory?" It's not a bad theory, but Rob, here's the one problem, and I don't want this to sound ageist at all because I love Michael Keaton. I can't wait to see him in The Flash. Michael Keaton is 70 years old. Now, Mel Gibson is still, or Sylvester Stallone is still making Expendables movies. Yes, absolutely. But not everybody can do what Sylvester Stallone does. Can you start a new era of the DCU with a 70-year-old Michael Keaton as your Batman ongoing and continuing? I'm going to guess no. It's possible, but Rob, don't forget, shortly before he started production, Michael Keaton was still saying he wasn't even 100% positive that he was going to do the Flash movie.
I know.
Which is like, if you've already got scripts being written for future movies and shows that are going to have the Michael Keaton Batman, that would have been a deadlock set in concrete thing already. But there was some questions about whether he's even going to appear. So I'm not going to say it's impossible, though, Ben. It's not impossible. I'll just say I find it doubtful that he'll be the DCU movie, Batman moving forward. I don't know, Rob, what do you think about that?
Well, yeah, I mean, I can't wait for all this stuff. You know, I'm excited for it all. I don't know what's going to happen moving forward. I don't know. And I will say this, like I loved hearing Michael Keaton's voiceover on the Flash trailer.
Oh yeah, it was great.
It was great. That's another thing, by the way. Can I just say that pissed me off about DC Fandome? You give us that voiceover, but you don't show his face.
When you showed concept art of him a year ago,
I'm like, show me him saying that. I mean, you see the back of his head. Give me a push-in on his face while he's saying that. Come on, man. I mean, that would have broken the internet. That would have been, people would have been like, woohoo. You know, but in terms of, wait, we're talking about Michael Caine, right?
Michael Keaton.
I mean, no, I look at it this way, man. If people have given us a lifetime of great entertainment and they want to stop acting, or they want to not be Alfred or not be Batman or not be whomever, you know, you got to give it up to them. You got to be like, okay, you know, that's fine. I'm just happy people are working. That's pretty much it. Right. If they don't want to work anymore, you know, it bummed me out. Sean Connery and Gene Hackman retired. You know, when was the last time? We haven't seen Gene Hackman in like 17 years. He's been gone for like 17 years.
He just did an interview recently, by the way.
I know. I miss Gene Hackman, man. I love Gene Hackman. And he's still alive.
Yeah. Well, Michael Caine just announced that he's retiring. Of course, with the GOAT himself, Daniel Day-Lewis, is retired. You know,
I mean, and I get it. I mean, even though Michael Caine has walked back his comments.
Oh, did he? I didn't see that he walked back those comments.
He said, well, I'm not going to give up my alarm clock, meaning that'll wake him up so he can go to work anytime soon. So, you know, who knows? Look, I'm stoked that Michael Keaton's coming back, even if he's 70. I think.
And by the way, if you know the Flashpoint storyline, there's a possibility that Michael Keaton is not playing Bruce Wayne. There's a possibility he could be playing Thomas Wayne.
Yeah.
So,
yep.
for those of you who have seen or read the Flashpoint storyline, he could very well be the Thomas Wayne Batman. So,
yep.
I don't know. We'll see. All right, let's move on here. BK Dan writes, John, if the IATSE strike happens, again, this was written in over the weekend before the deal was done. If the IATSE strike happens, is it legal / possible for studios to circumvent IATSE and go international shooting? Forgive if I'm showing ignorance. No ignorance there at all. That's a great question. It would have been very, very difficult, Rob, because the last thing you can do if you're trying to establish good faith with the union that you need to work with, the first thing you do is you go out and say, okay, fine, we're going to go shoot our movies in France. Well, guess what? The unions in France were probably going to stand up with the IATSE anyway. But that being said, if they had done that, they would have permanently damaged their relationship and caused a lot more problems for themselves moving forward. So number one, it would have been financially prohibitive for them to do it. Number two, it would have been logistically prohibitive for them to do it. And number three, they would be shooting themselves in the face by destroying whatever decent will there was between the union and themselves at all moving forward, when these are supposed to be your partners. So it would have been very, very difficult, but it's not a bad question at all, BK Dan. Rob, how would you answer that?
Well, I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, I don't, who knows what going forward holds for us. I mean, I guess I have to take a wait and see approach, I guess.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we've got, where are we at now? We are at Optimus Prime Rib, who writes, Demonica dislike things based on principle, even if it's effective. For example, you have criticized certain trailers because of the marketing factor and not because of the content. But trailers are marketing. You can't separate trailers from marketing.
Right.
Trailers are marketing at any rate, and not because the content. With Dune, will you criticize it for an abrupt ending, even if it worked for you? Well, okay, that's an interesting question, Optimus Prime Rip, but I would say a couple of things. Number one, you are assuming that the word abrupt automatically means negative. That abrupt automatically equals bad. There are a lot of times in movies and TV shows when something abrupt happens, but that builds what's going on.
Yeah.
And it works. So like if you say to me, will you criticize it for an abrupt ending, even if it worked for you? Well, why would you criticize something that worked? If it works, that's the whole thing. Like cliches. Cliches are not inherently a bad thing. You can use cliches very powerfully and very effectively.
Yes.
And if you use it powerfully and effectively, you don't criticize it for a cliche. You praise it for the fact that they used a tool that was in their belts that worked. The fact that Dune may or may not, I don't see Dune until Thursday, but the fact that Dune may or may not have an abrupt ending is not necessarily automatically a bad thing. It may be very, very effective. It may work perfectly. Rob,
Yeah.
I would point us to Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring definitely had an abrupt ending. It's like, Sam, look, there it is. There's Mordor. That's where we're going. Credits roll. Right? But it worked. What would you say, Rob?
Well, I think with Lord of the Rings, you have that battle where Boromir, spoiler alert, Boromir gets killed and then Frodo takes off, and so it felt, even though it's part of two more books or whatever, it felt like a good place to end it. I think that my big criticism with Dune, having seen the movie, which I really, really liked, where they end it, it's abrupt because the story hasn't really started yet. I mean, you're kind of at the beginnings and you're wondering, well, where is this going now? And it ends in a place where you're like, well, wait, whoa, why are we ending here? Even though the movie's really long, so by the time it's over, you're ready for it to be over, but you wanted a little bit more because it kind of ends on a low note. I mean, in terms of low energy. And I understand why they ended it there, but I wanted more story. My biggest thing about Dune, John, is I'm going to be very curious to hear what you think, and other people who might not be as familiar with the story, and does the movie work for them? I can't wait to hear what you think of the ending, because I that's the one thing I don't have a sense of, because knowing where the story goes, I couldn't tell. I didn't like where the movie ended, to be honest.
Well, yeah, I will let you know what I think as soon as I see it on Thursday. That's when I'll see it. It's funny. I never thought I would see Eternals before I saw Dune, but I guess that's what's happening. All right. Next up, we've got Cesar Rivera writes, "Hey, John, I love Indiana Jones, but I'm wondering, what will Disney do with the IP after Indiana Jones 5? Will they go the James Bond route by rebooting and recasting the series and character?" Honestly, Cesar, don't know, Rob. I mean, we really don't know yet. But I would guess, my guess right now is that's exactly what they're going to do. I think they're going to take Indiana Jones the James Bond route. I think we are going to get, now I know people have said, only Harrison Ford is Indiana Jones. We're not going to recast Indiana Jones. Yeah, lies. This is too valuable of an IP, Rob. The IP of Indiana Jones is far too valuable. They will, I believe, again, there's a lot of different things that could happen. The one I'm leaning towards right now, it is the James Bond route. They will recast it and then not necessarily hold to canon necessarily the events that happened during Harrison Ford. It's like they're not necessarily going to say, like, Daniel Craig's Bond was not Roger Moore's Bond. It's a completely different thing. I kind of think they'll do the same thing with Indiana Jones. They'll keep the main foundation that he had a dad, Dr. Jones, that he works in universities, that he grew up here. All that will be the same, but he'll have his own adventure. So that's where I think they're going to go. Rob, what do you think they're going to do with Indiana Jones after Indiana Jones 5 happens in 23 years?
Well, we've seen four other actors play Indiana Jones. You had River Phoenix.
Yep.
You had Sean Patrick Flannery. You had George Hall, who played the old Indiana Jones in the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles, and I think Corey Carrier was it Corey Carrier. So it's been done. It's been done. Other actors have played Indiana Jones, so I could definitely see that happening. I do think Harrison Ford has been Indiana Jones now for 40 years, so I would have a hard time watching another actor play a 35-year-old Indiana Jones. I don't know if I could wrap my head around it, because, you know, we've watched Indiana Jones as Harrison Ford grow old in the part, and we're going to see him again, you know, at almost 8. Well, he'll be 80 by the time the movie comes out.
Yeah.
And it's like maybe even 81. So I would say, like you, I'm sure they're going to continue to utilize the IP in some way, shape, or form. But I don't know, man. I don't want to see another actor play Indiana Jones.
But you know what?
But then again, I was, you know, when I was a kid, I loved the James Bond movies, and there had already been another James Bond by the time I was watching Bond films, actually 2 Bond films, because when I started watching them, Roger Moore had taken over the role. So you had Lazenby and Connery. And then if you want to go back to television in the mid-50s, Barry Nelson played Jimmy Bond. But it was not, so it was always there. But like, I don't like the fact, I hate the fact other people have played Captain Kirk. I can't stand it. I hate it. And no, I love Chris Pine as an actor, but I'm like, I hated it when he played Kirk. And now they're going to have a new James Kirk in Strange New Worlds at some point. I'm going to hate that too. And so I don't know, man. I don't know if I could get over it. They're going to keep going. They're going to do something with it. But I don't want to see another actor like Chris Pine taking over the role. I wouldn't like that.
See, I think we often feel that way, and then we get over it. I
know that's the thing. I know.
Yeah, like you brought up the Bond situation, which is a great example of that. I'm sure there were probably a lot of people who grew up with Sean Connery Bond, and then when then Roger Moore, and then for some people was my Bond is Moore and Connery, and then along came Timothy Dalton, and then Pierce Brosnan, and then whatever. And I think it's something you just get over. That doesn't mean you're going to necessarily like. I'm sure there were people that didn't like the Pierce Brosnan iteration of Bond, just like you don't like the Chris Pine iteration of Kirk. But I personally, Rob, let me play psychotherapist for a second, which I'm totally qualified to do, obviously. But I would say, I don't think it's a matter that you don't like anybody else playing Kirk. I think it's the one new iteration we got has been an iteration that hasn't worked for you. So, but maybe if, somebody else, maybe they do Strange New Worlds and another actor plays Kirk, and maybe you actually like that iteration of Kirk. So then it might be that, but I don't know. I'm just pulling that out of my ass though. All right, let's move on here. We got time for a couple more with Rob still here. Nick Peltier writes, hey, John and Rob, Warner Brothers released new posters for the Batman that look fantastic. They reminded me of Batman Beyond animated series. What are your thoughts on Warner Brothers developing a Batman Beyond film? Personally, I think it would be a big hit. I think it would be an unmitigated flop. I think it would be an absolute monstrous flop. Now, let me tell you what I've always said about Batman Beyond, and then let me tell you what I changed about what I think about Batman Beyond as of a couple of years ago. While there is a small vocal fan base of Batman Beyond, the reality is it is a small vocal fan base. If you ask 100 people coming out of the average movie theater and say, who is Batman? They aren't going to say, crap, I forget the kid's name. What's the kid's name again who's the new Batman?
Robert Pattinson?
No, sorry. The kid the name of the character who takes on the Batman mantle. It's Terry McGinnis. Terry McGinnis is it. By the way, Abundance puts in Terry, Nichols says Terry, and Somnax says Terry. Yeah, Terry McGinnis is the name of the character. If you ask 100 people, average movie fans coming out of a movie theater, say, what's the name of Batman's real identity? I feel comfortable saying, Rob, 100 out of 100 are going to say Bruce Wayne. They're not going to say Terry McGinnis. Audience doesn't care about Terry McGinnis Batman. Just don't. Batman is Bruce Wayne as Batman is Bruce Wayne. And yeah, there was a little short-lived, very short-lived animated series that has some fan base. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Okay, now that's what I said for a long time. After watching Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, I've changed my tune a little bit. Not a ton, but a little bit. Because I would have said maybe the same things about Miles Morales as Spider-Man. People don't care about Miles Morales Spider-Man. They care about Spider-Man as Peter Parker. Always has been. Always will be. It's Peter Parker. But then I watched Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. And Rob, you know how much I fell in love with that movie. Oh my God, I love that movie. And after seeing that, I said, well, maybe an animated Batman Begins. Maybe an animated Batman Begins introducing an audience that the vast majority of which have never heard of Terry McGinnis, introduce an audience to sometime in the future, 20, 30 years in the future, Bruce Wayne is retired and now he's mentoring a younger guy to take over the mantle of the Bat. His name's Terry McGinnis. He's not the physical specimen that Bruce Wayne is, but he's used a lot more technology is built into it. And after seeing Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, I softened on that. It's like, you know what? Maybe that could work. I still don't think any studio is interested in making a live action Batman Begins, to be honest with you. But I never would have thought an animated movie would work either. But Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse changed my mind a little bit on that. I don't know, Rob, what do you think?
I mean, I think that they could, I think that there's lots of things that they could do. This, like you said, Into the Spider-Verse, you weren't even stoked for it when it was coming out.
No, I thought it looked terrible. I thought Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse was going to be awful. I'll call myself out on it. I said for like a year, I said, this doesn't look good. It's a dumb idea. And then when the trailer came out, I said, I don't like the animation style and all that kind of stuff. And I went in as a totally negative. And then I fell in love with it. Totally fell in love with it.
So, I mean, I think, whether they do Batman Begins, I'd love to see a Batman Forever series. Look, if they did Batman Forever as a live action show, I think that would be awesome. Like Michael Keaton playing old Bruce Wayne, I think it could be great. At this point, they can make just about anything. And if it's good, I think there's no more borders or there's no more things that can and can't work. And I think really beginning with like the Lego movie, the fact that the Lego movie and then led to Lego Batman, which then afterwards we got things like Into the Spider-Verse, anything is now possible. I think that as long as it's good, it can be made. All right,
next up, we go to BK Dan, who writes, John, the looming IATSE strike, and obviously this was before they announced that a deal had been made, isn't in a vacuum. There are unions striking or near striking right now all over the states. Yeah, there's actually a very large thing. There's actually a big story on the front page of CNN the other day about how like the American workers are unhappiest right now than maybe they've ever been. And there's a lot of looming strikes. So you're right about that. It's not in a vacuum. All right. The Meteor Man writes, to my understanding, Lord of the Rings had a negative impact on the creation of new movies in the high fantasy medieval genre for fear of comparison. Do you think Black Panther's success will or has had a similar effect on possible Afro-futuristic films? I don't believe so at all. No, I don't. Look, as much as I really love Black Panther, the movie, I just went to go see, Rob, you and I both went to go see the Black Panther live and in concert at the Hollywood Bowl, where
it was awesome, dude.
They played the movie on the big screen with the orchestra actually playing the music along. It's amazing. I love that movie. But Black Panther is not Lord of the Rings. Very few, like Shang-Chi. I love Shang-Chi. It ain't Lord of the Rings.
No.
But the other thing is this, is that when Lord of the Rings came, Hollywood was making sword and sandal and sorcery movies. Not tons, but they were making them. Black Panther was really kind of, for the new era of films, it's really kind of the first of its kind in the new era of the films we made. So I don't think, whereas Lord of the Rings came out and it kind of stopped the sword, sandal, and sorcery movies, because you're right, nobody wanted to be compared to Lord of the Rings. And a couple of things came out, but they were pretty much overlooked. But I don't think that's the same case with Black Panther. I don't know, Rob, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that obviously Black Panther was a milestone moment in terms of with an incredible black cast, and it really broke through any idea of whether a movie like that could succeed. And I think it was sort of the final nail in the coffin by saying that those movies couldn't travel around the world, and it was nice to see. I thought that movie. Can you imagine, like, if you're black growing up anywhere in the world and you're like 5 years old and you were to see that when what it would mean to you as a kid, right, being able to see these. And I think that's, to me, that's what representation and inclusion is all about. And people love that movie, and I when we were watching it on the big screen at the Hollywood Bowl, the music, the fact that they use so much percussion and that the original score was done by somebody who wanted to incorporate traditional African instruments, it really came through. And I was, this is awesome. Seeing it I think I never liked Black Panther more than seeing it at the Hollywood Bowl with that live orchestra playing that music, because you really felt the DNA of the movie come through in that music. And it's an important film. I mean, I don't think it's the greatest Marvel origin movie by any stretch. It feels a little by the numbers, but it really doesn't matter because of the representation. And I just, man, watching it again, I had so much fun watching it. I'm like, I love this movie.
It was great. And listen, guys, now normally we would take the John Campea Show another 20 or 30 minutes, but I do have a bunch I have to do today, and with Ann as well, to get ready for.
Rub it in. Why don't you just go ahead, say it, just rub it in.
The Eternals premiere tonight. I'll be filming a lot of it. I'll be uploading a bunch of stuff tonight. Keep your guys' eyes open for that. So we're going to cut today's short, just a little bit short. Big thank you to all of you guys who decided to take time out of your day to come and join us. Really appreciate that, guys. A big thank you to all of you who sent in super chat badges in the live chat, and you guys who sent in these tip questions. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about, but number two, you supported this channel as you did it. So all of us here at the John Campea Show, thank you guys so much for your support. Rob, good as always to have you here, my friend. Have a great one. In the meantime, where can people follow you and all of your goodness online?
Crying that I don't get to see Eternals today.
You get to see it tomorrow. Come on. You're seeing it tomorrow.
You can find me on Instagram at Robert Meyer Burnett. Find me on Twitter at BurnettRM, or find me on my own YouTube channel, The Burnett Work.
All right, dudes. And guys, remember, do the four main things, everybody. Stay smart, stay safe, take care of yourselves, and take care of the people around you. Don't forget to join us again tomorrow. Robert will be back as well for the John Campea Show tomorrow as well. Guys, that'll do it for us for now. Thanks a lot for being here. My name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.
That was fun.